Hello, Internet. Thank you so much for tuning in to the very first episode of Audio XP. Man, I really feel like that needs some kind of Anyway, my name is Cole Harmon, and I'll be your guide on this journey into the wide and wonderful world of interactive audio. There are millions of things you could be watching or listening to right now, but you chose this, and for that, I am eternally grateful. But before we dive into our discussion, let me tell you about today's composer. Each episode, I will be featuring the work of a different composer, and today's music is by Fluffy, who goes by Sock Puppet on Bandcamp. Sock Puppet has a truly amazing and diverse catalog, effortlessly spanning multiple genres. I couldn't possibly do it justice with the few clips that I chose, so please go check out their work. The link will be in the description. And they are open to work. So if you like what you're hearing and you need a composer, drop Sock Puppet a line. Once again, the relevant links will be down below. Finally, seeing as this is a brand new baby podcast that needs lots of love to grow up big and strong, if you like what you're hearing, please hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. Leave a nice 5-star review and tell your friends. I won't be able to do this without your support, and it would mean the world to me. Alright, so for today's guest, I will be speaking with the fabulous Jasmine Serrano over at Probably Monsters and formerly of ArenaNet. She's worked on some super cool projects, including Guild Wars, Paladins, Smite, and a host of indie cartoons and games. Thanks again for listening. Enjoy the show. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Jasmine. I was really excited to interview you because it was a couple of months ago, I went to my first Seattle game audio meetup, and I was really nervous. I didn't know anybody. I drove a couple of hours, and I wasn't even sure if I had the right bar at first. And then you were actually just one of the first people I talked to, and you were super kind and helpful. And then I got to kind of checking out some of the work that you've done, and I was like, oh dang, this is super impressive, and I would really love the chance to just talk to you and kind of hear about how you do things. So welcome to the show.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was also my first Seattle game audio meetup. I've been getting these invites for a while, and I've always kind of psyched myself out on going because I just wasn't really sure if I'd really be able to contribute or anything, but it was so chill and really nice. I also I'd never really been around there before, so I'm also just is this the right place? But and of course I went there early. Took a bit for to really see anybody, but yeah, you're one of the first people I met, and we talked for a while, and it was great. It was such a delight to meet you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I like the background situation you got going on here with the, I see a lot of Yoshis, a whole family of Yoshis. Are those brats down there?
Yes, there's a combination of Barbie, the LOL OMG dolls, and also brats.
Okay. Right on.
A lot of these are mainly from childhood as well, but I love dolls, and of course Yoshi is basically my son. I love Yoshi so much. I got 2 Yoshi tattoos, and all sorts of stuff.
You are actually technically going to be my first guest on the show, and so I'm instituting a game for a kind of a fun icebreaker where I am actually trying, for my own selfish reasons, to practice getting better at listening and dissecting sounds. And so I've prepared a sound effect as a challenge for you. I want you to listen to it a couple of times and see if you can tell me how you think I made it.
Okay, so there's so many nice tonal things in it. I really like it. Sounds very satisfying. It's almost like a metal anvil possibly, and I love that static. That sounds really nice too. Oh man, this is hard. Yeah, definitely that metal sort of gong or impact or something. Like I really really like that. That sounds really nice. And like your technical like almost like a switch or something. Just or like handling or whatever like this is. It kind of reminds me of like a Nerf gun or something, like we're like loading it in or something like that, like that kind of big click. I don't know.
I gave you kind of a hard one because there's like a lot of layers actually, but
Yes. But yeah, like I mean, if anything, the static could also be, I would say possibly like a filter on like some maybe like glass, like shattering. To be some kind of static or feedback.
do you want me to tell you what I was kind of doing there?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm working on sprucing up my demo reel. I picked a clip for Armored Core.
Oh,
and so this
fabulous.
is actually the laser. I don't even know what you call it because I never played Armored Core, but it's like a electricity laser sword slicing another robot. So I was really trying hard to avoid the lightsaber kind of sound. And plus, I have a ton of low end going on already in this scene, so I decided to just keep it all like upper register. So basically, it's a kitchen knife for like the initial swing with like a very fast filter and some delay, so it kind of gives it that nice anime.
Oh, totally.
You were right on the money with the anvil. It's so the actual strike is an anvil, but then I also reverse reverbed that leading up into the strike. I just picked this random like tonal sound I found. I believe it's just a reverse symbol, so it gives it another layer of that build up. You were right, it's static. It's just a library of like different static hisses, and I just added delay and stuff to kind of space it out. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else weird in there. Oh, not really. Just the actual like swooshing sound of the sword coming down is just white noise with filter and a kitchen knife and I believe a bamboo stick pitched down hard. And that's pretty much it. It's a lot going on, but I think the effects probably make it sound a little crazier than it actually was. So really good ear though. The anvil.
Yeah, fantastic job.
Thanks.
I really, really like that. Especially hearing about the white noise. You can do so much with white noise. I have a colleague, Matthew Galt. I think he might have it on a YouTube channel as well, but he did like a gun, I think a Call of Duty redesign, but only white noise.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yes, like I have no idea how he did it or even having the patience to do it, but oh my gosh, it sounds fantastic.
People are so creative. I don't even know how they do it. But speaking of creative people, I wanted to go ahead and dissect your clip. So I'm learning Foley, so I'm not like as good as some people at just making those immediate jumps like this is that. But the only thing I could think of that if I was going to make that sound is my 2-year-old has this like rubber bib. And if I wiggle it around, it makes a same kind of similar fishy like wick, 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 wick. I don't know. How did you do it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Yeah, this one, I love this animatic. It was such a fun.
It was a treat to watch.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, like I love cartoons. That's like one of the like a big goal that I have is to work on a cartoon series or an animated movie, something like that. But yeah, this one is just my mouth. A good old
really?
cheek grab and just.
Seriously, that's it? That's awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes like
there we go.
like any sounds can either have like 10, like 5 layers, 10 layers, 15 layers, doesn't matter. This one was just my mouth. Just a couple things and not too much processing.
One of the keywords for how I would describe your style is expressive. And I really enjoyed particularly how you use like simple, effective choices on the animatics. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you handle something like a humorous cartoon animatic?
I've always loved cartoons and comedy. And so I've always like attributed that to my personality as well. I like to have fun. I always try to have a smile on my face and try to make people laugh. That's like one of my favorite things is just try to make people laugh. I remember when I was trying to get hired at Guild Wars, they gave me this test to do. And part of that test, in the video, there was one of their characters, it's called a Choya. And it's like almost like this cactus character, some sort of small little creature that almost looks like a tiny little, very ugly cactus.
Okay.
But they're really cute and they wiggle around. And in this particular video, he was this little Choya was kind of doing like just running in a circle, and then it explodes and it kind of looks like a watermelon on the inside.
Okay.
And so I just ended up adding some kind of monkey howl and a timer going off and like almost a bomb exploding. And like some of the feedback that I got from that was at the time, his name Keenan, I forget his last name, but he was working there for such a long time. He was telling me that he was laughing so much, like looking at that, and it always just makes him laugh. And I'm always like, yes,
Nice.
that's what I love to do. I love anytime somebody is like looking at anything that I've done and I see them like chuckle. I'm always like, yes.
It's funny how with so many years of sound design existing, it's relatively young compared to like, I don't know, music or something, but there's already some pretty hardcore tropes in a lot of different areas. So I was like, man, I really just appreciated your choices. They didn't feel like the standard cartoon sounds or anything like that. It was just very expressive choices. So good work.
Thank you. Yeah, this was so early in my not necessarily my career. Like I did that when I was in college.
Okay.
And so even looking back at it now, I would be choosing a few different things, adding a whole lot more. I know it's just an automatic. There's not too much movement going on. A lot of things are static, but I wanted to show in the automatic, or at least like have people really visualize and be able to see the rest of like
Sure, yeah.
what was going on before it was actually like a final product.
How do you, as a sound designer, handle, like a lot of times I will hear people say sound design is there to help carry the story, and sometimes you need to design things that aren't actually happening on screen. You don't want to be too literal. And yet sometimes when I've kind of forayed into that, I feel like I kind of get feedback. Maybe that wasn't happening on the screen or it was like distracting or whatever. And I'm like, okay, so like, how do you draw the line between what you maybe want to add to that's not literally happening on the screen, but also not just going completely extra and adding every sound ever?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's totally a problem that happens like to everybody and me as well. Let's say like for an example, I worked on a cinematic trailer for Paladins. And it was I'm not too familiar with Paladins, but it was an announcement for a character called Lilith. She's a vampire or succubus lady. I'm not too sure. I'm sorry for the Paladin fans, but I got to co-design that trailer with one of my colleagues at Skew Sound, and yeah, I did a first pass on it, and one of the feedback on it was to not really do everything, because there's quite a few things going on in that video. There's a lot of movement, quick like dashes, guns firing, and even like seeing like the bullets going by, and even in the background there's like there's kind of like a few things going on there too. So you have to figure out like, okay, what is the viewer or the audience supposed to be looking at and paying attention to. So it's always also good to like work with narrative, or really, the person who sent it to us, to make sure they give us notes as well, to be like, okay, this is what we're envisioning, and this is the mood, the feel, and go from there. So yeah, it's like, so just just trying to like focus, and not only my attention but the viewer the viewer as well, to make sure that they're following what they're supposed to be. And even if no, not everybody interprets things the same way. So even if they do notice something else going on, I at least still try to make sure to like make that like, ooh, that was fun. Like stuff like that, I guess.
Looking at a lot of your Guild Wars stuff, some of those moments were like really intense, and some of them were a little more on the creepy, haunting side. There was one where like a town is, it looks like you're rescuing people from a town. Things are kind of falling apart and stuff, and that one was like kind of horror is probably a strong word, but it was very tense, and there were some creepy sounds coming out. It almost reminded me of Doom a little bit with some of the soundscapes. So how do you tackle jumping into something that's a little more on the scary side?
What's funny, like I grew up with my father is such a huge horror fan, and I didn't really get into horror until about like late high school. I finally watched some of my first horror movies. I used to be terrified of horror movies. I hated it, but I've always loved Halloween. But I was pretty used to being around like weird, creepy stuff, because my father was a special effects makeup artist for a while.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah, and he also did like props and stuff like that. So our garage kind of had an assortment of weird things, include like we had this mannequin head for quite some time. I think he's still around. He's older than me. His name is Clyde. And Clyde's been through so much, but just having this creepy head that like I finally embraced horror much later. And so I really got into weird soundscapes or like abstract things. College really helped me open up my sonic palette, or my ears, to doing things really abstract and not necessarily like makes too much sense, but still at least like sounds really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with Guild Wars, it's such a, it's been around for like 10, 11 years, and it has such an expansive like lore, and just it's just something that I jumped right into it. I didn't know a whole lot about Guild Wars. I knew friends that played it. I knew like a couple friends who were obsessed with Guild Wars, and I never really got into it like too much. MMOs were never really like my favorite type of genre. But I was just so excited to be a part of this. This is like my first job in the industry, working with Guild Wars, and it was just so exciting. They have such a huge library of sounds and content, and I got to like contribute a little bit to it. But for this particular map that's going on, it was oh goodness, I think it was Living World Season 5. and it was I think the place is called Ebonhawk, and so there was some sort of invasion going on, and there's a lot of these key moments because I was also working with the narrative team to make sure that they get their vision out there as well. They have their own ideas, and I want to make sure that they see those through, as well as still having like my style and my ideas in there as well. So one of the first things I wanted to make sure was with interacting with the NPCs. I learned how to implement and use their software to make these interactions, to make sure like your character is just like beckoning and calling, making sure that the NPCs like interact with you. They're whimpering and crying. You hear that, and to have periodic like yells and monster callings from like it sounds distant, not necessarily like right next to you, but it sounds like as if danger is coming, because there's a certain time limit. You want to make sure to get like the characters to where you got to take them, I think near the gate. And so by the time that's done, the danger is increasing, and you hear even more things going on, just lots of cannons in the background, different monster roars, and even like different NPC reactions. But all of it sounding very distant because it's supposed to be like a war zone.
Yeah. Yeah, so I imagine in that case, there's kind of a fine line between evoking a sort of like panicked sense of danger, but also, like there's probably a good opportunity for a little too much, especially
Exactly.
with the score going on too.
Oh yeah. There's definitely music going on. There's a lot of definitely trying to make sure you're not overwhelming players. Everybody has like different ears and different play styles and the way that they navigate through games. Some people play with the music completely blasted. Some don't play with music at all. So
Yeah.
you have to, yeah.
That's like a terrifying thought to think that people spend, like hundreds of hours mixing a game so the player can like be like, nah, I don't like these sounds. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. Like I personally love seeing like, I like in the settings, they have an ambience tab and effects, like an effects slider and a music slider. I love it. But then I'm also like me personally, if I'm playing something that I've worked on, I just want to be like, no, it should just be one slider. I want them to hear everything.
It's just how much awesomeness do you want? That's it. That's the slider.
Yes, exactly.
When did you start with Guild Wars?
So, okay, I graduated college in 2018.
Okay.
I'm originally from California, born and raised in California, and in 2020,
great year to...
such an interesting year for everybody. Oh my gosh. As things were starting to wind up in 2020, I eventually got an email because about a year beforehand, I had applied at ArenaNet, and they were gracious enough to give me feedback on my demo reel, which was so invaluable. Not many people, or hardly anybody, ever actually tells you like, hey, I don't think you're right for the role, but here's what we think you can do, which was such a fantastic opportunity. It does not really happen all that often.
Yeah, that's like crazy, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I've had gotten so many rejections, so much ghosting, just nothing. And at the time it was Keenan, and I believe the guy's name was Jason at the time as well when he worked there. And oh my God, like they were just so nice, and they're just like, you're almost there. Here's a few things that we think you could do. And I said, okay, cool. And then a year later, basically a whole year later, I get an email saying, hey, I remember you. We have an opening. Why don't you apply? And I was like, oh my gosh. So like just I've always been so grateful, and I felt so lucky for that. And I did their test again, and I I got hired, and
Nice.
oh, I remember getting that phone call and bawling my eyes out. It had been a couple years since graduating. I was working like two jobs, uh, hustling, just trying and doing side gigs of boom operating and post production audio. My degree is in film audio, so I've always loved movies and all that. Just working on side projects with local creatives in the Central Valley of California. And so they said like, "Hey, why come out to Seattle?" So
That's awesome.
I did. It was 2020, and it's just so much going on. It was just such a fantastic opportunity. I couldn't say no.
Yeah.
And so I just became another Californian invading Seattle. Sorry. I've really enjoyed it out here. It's been lovely. Everyone has been, well, like everyone that I worked with has been so nice. Working with Guild Wars was just it was crazy. It's such an established title. Loyal fans from just like the first game, and people still being like, "Oh my God, this is like my favorite thing, and I love it." And even the people like the designers that are there that have been there since the beginning, you could tell that the passion has been there, and it's still there. They love and care for this game so much, and just the brand itself. It was, sometimes I kind of felt a little like, oh my God, like like I don't know if I deserve this because I didn't know anything about Guild Wars, let alone really played it. And so I was worried about disappointing people, I suppose. And so getting the opportunity to actually so one of the first things that I really got to work on myself and with a colleague was the Sunqual Peak Fractal. And we both did that like ourselves. We were able to like go through the library and design a few things, as well as implement everything into the game as well. So that's all like a labor of love that myself and Sung Ha Han, she was working there at the time as well, and she's just so fantastic. And we both basically had like one half of the map and the other half of the map, and we did ambience, enemies, like everything. It was just such a humbling time, and also very stressful because this was like their first fractal that they've put out in a while, and there was quite a bit of an expectation when it came to the fans. Like I don't want to disappoint anybody when like trying to keep like the Guild Wars Sonic palette and their style in it, but still be able to put a little bit of me, just a little bit. So just trying to walk that line and keep everybody happy. Like what an amazing and stressful time.
Yeah, I can imagine. So as a sound designer, did you feel working with something with such a long history and established palette, was that kind of like helpful to have something to step into, or was it more constraining, like you felt like you had to kind of follow the rules? I imagine maybe some of both.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely a big amount of trying to follow, because I there was definitely some reviews and revisions that I made to certain things that were not completely like, this doesn't really sound like Guild Wars. Why don't we try this? So, which sometimes is a little discouraging, or a little like, oh dang, maybe I'm not very good at this, but
Yeah.
It's the audio team is just so fantastic. God, I learned so much from all of them and felt very supported. I had never really been with a team like that, just so passionate and so easygoing. Just the coolest people that you're gonna meet are 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 really just gonna be like the coolest audio nerds. And you meet anybody in audio, like they're gonna be pretty cool. And that goes
Yeah.
for like the whole Guild Wars team. They're very helpful in making sure that I felt supported and that I was getting what I wanted out of my experience there. Because I kind of came in as an apprentice.
Okay.
And eventually made my way to associate. And so, like, what a transition! It was just such a great learning journey, and to be able to explore and build my skills as well.
It's just cool to hear your reaction to getting the role. The fact that they gave you feedback is nuts, because I've gotten 33, I think, replies in the last month where it was literally just like, it's not even a reply email. So I couldn't even ask if I wanted to. So that's really cool. So to hear that you had to go through a couple of years of just like ghosting and all that stuff, and then you finally get a call, that's really exciting. It warms my heart. It warms my heart to hear.
Totally. When I was leaving ArenaNet, my contract had finally ran out, and I was thanking a bunch of people. I was reminding them, like, you're the reason I got into the industry. You guys are my in, and I will never forget that, because they helped me finally jumpstart my game audio career. It had been discouraging for quite some time. There was one job interview that I went up to San Francisco with my dad. We drove back out there, and I interviewed with this company. I basically interviewed with everybody that was there, because it was quite a small, like, little mobile game or something like that. And I thought I nailed it. Everyone was nice. I was cracking jokes. They were loving it. I had like great ideas, and all of them seemed like, oh yeah, that sounds really nice. And then I drive back. They give me a sound test. I crush it. I know I did such a great job. Like, I'm feeling so good about this. I'm like, I'm going to get that letter. I am going to get that higher letter, like, right now. And like a month passed, and then I reach out to them, and they basically say, oh yeah, no. So it's, oh my God.
Wah, wah. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
That must have been a really crushing feeling.
It really is. That's the thing. You just have to keep, like, my mom has always been about hope, like, just keeping hope. Hope is what, keeps you going and keeps a drive. You just have to make sure that you still feel like I am worth, I am worth being in this career. Like, I know that this is something that I want to do. And, just because this one company went and had me jump through hoops and all that, that was the furthest that I've gone in, like, most of the interviews that I had done, or really just had any kind of feedback. So that was driving me to be like, okay, I got that far, I could do that again, so like, I don't know how many jobs I had applied to, like hundreds, just so many, and just rejection after rejection until you get your shot.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that your first, like, big experience in the industry was so positive.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, the first thing is Guild Wars. It's so crazy. And it's, depending on the person that you're talking to, like, they're going to be like, oh my God, Guild Wars, wow. Or they're going to be like, what is that? It's a bit of a niche thing, I suppose, because it's almost like everybody knows World of Warcraft. But you mentioned Guild Wars, they're like, what's that?
Yeah, yeah,
they,
it's true.
they don't know. And the few people that do know, they are fans.
Yeah, the people who are into it are super into it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Once I was at Xfinity trying to, do something with my internet plan or something, and having small talk with the salesperson, and I mentioned that I had worked for Guild Wars, and they were like, oh my God, no way.
One reason I really wanted to bring you on is because I think you have a really incredible ear for magical sounds, which is something that I personally want to grow in. So, one of the first things I heard from you, I think you shared with me you got to do like an anime Cthulhu skin for, what was the Smite, I think.
Yes.
And it was just like such a funny mix of like the crushing weight of Cthulhu with like this happy like anime shimmery stuff. So can you talk a little bit about creating that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. What an opportunity. I was contracting with SKU Sound, and High Res was a client that they were dealing with for quite some time, mainly working on character skins, like cosmetics and stuff for their champions or gods or whatever. And we got the contract that came in for Cthulhu, and the title was Cthulu. And I didn't really know too much about it. And then I saw the art, and I was like, please give this to me, please. I need to work on this. This is me.
Cthulhu.
This is calling my name.
I just got it. I was a little slow there. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I was practically begging, like, oh my God, I have to work on this. So it was such a fun time. High Res, they give us sometimes they give us very specific notes on characters, on their abilities, whether or not we can add more layers to certain things or completely redesign how an ability sounds, because they do have legacy sounds that are like used for characters that do not change. And just, I guess it depends on how new the character is. I'm not really sure when Cthulhu was first added, but this reskin was everything's pink. He's
Yeah.
normally very brooding and dark, black smoke and red, and just lots of dark evil tones. And now everything looks like stars and hearts and sparkles, pink, light, fun, blues. And oh my God, it was, it was just so funny. And so the notes that I received was just like, have fun, do stuff, make it sound almost like old school anime. And so I found this wonderful library, think like a vintage like anime sounds almost, and so I used some of that as well, and also learning how they made those sounds, which is with frequency shifting.
Yeah,
such a fun way to design things. If you haven't done it yet, just mess around with it. I love using a frequency shifter. It really adds so much movement and charm to certain sounds. And so I just love anytime I get to use any kind of like sparkle something. I I just I just go crazy for it. I love anything that like sounds all tingly and nice. Yeah, so designing that is just so fun. Because all his like impacts were just hearts and stars, and so just trying to make everything light and fun, not too overwhelming, and not too like not grating for the ears as well, because these are abilities that are used over and over again. There's not too many variations that are used on this, so you have to make sure that there isn't going to be any fatigue when playing. And so yeah, my approach was to just have fun and make it really just weird, cute, I suppose, because it's Cthulhu. Like this, haven't really seen him in this light of being like, oh my gosh, I'm this adorable like Squid Man, instead of his usual like I am evil, you know.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I could tell you had fun with it. I learned about the frequency shifting trick pretty recently, and I immediately I didn't do it in that clip I sent you, but I've used it for similar types of things. So, do you have a favorite frequency shifter? I have the kilohertz free one, and I think it's okay, but I'd like to know what your favorite one is.
Yeah. There's not too many ones that I have like really experimented with, but I just with the package of GRM frequency shift. I just find it really easy to use, very easy to automate. It's just a box and like basically a grid, and you just basically move the cursor around instead of like messing with knobs and all that. Because sometimes having a lot of knobs can be a little overwhelming, and trying sometimes it's a little hard to like really hear like what's going on, if there's any differences between knobs that you're using.
Right.
And so and so this is just like just a box with like one little dot, and you can just move it around, and I love it. really anything GRM, I am just such a huge fan of.
Nice. Okay, I haven't really checked out their stuff too much, so I'll have to do that.
Yes, if anything, like I love GRM evolution. One of my favorite things to really like spread. It's a good. One of my colleagues used a great word, smear, which also reminds me of the birdcage. You smear it. It just smears like you could put any sound in there and reduce the speed, and it's just this like just smears it everywhere. It's great.
Nice. I love it. I'm gonna have to try that out. I don't know what you're allowed to talk about. You're at this very mysterious organization called Probably Monsters. What's that like? Are you allowed to talk about what you're doing?
Yeah, I know it always sounds so mysterious because we haven't put out anything yet, but I totally get it. We haven't put anything out yet, but we are working on a few different titles right now, and it's been pretty fun. Going from like a big established like arena that's been around for such a long time, and they have their formula, they know what they're doing, to going to this not necessarily a startup, but still has a lot of framework of trying to figure out like the type of company culture that we want, the type of games that we want to be making, and just the vibe that we're trying to put out. It's exciting and a little scary, and also like quite fulfilling. We get to establish our audio pillars and figure out what we want to create and how we want to help each other out. It's just such a passionate group of people, and we all want to contribute something. And so I've been hoping to be able to expand like our ever growing library right now. We've been able to record a whole bunch of stuff. Like we've been having quite a few Foley sessions, and
Nice.
it's been so fun. Like one of the last things that I got to record was we needed like a bunch of like clicky kind of like gear turning sort of things. And so I have, as you can tell, in my background, I have many different toys and things. And I also have a closet full of toys as well. And lots of wind-up toys, or those the types of cars that where you pull them back and then the wheels go.
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah.
even things that vibrate, or just really clicky clacky things. And so like I got to play with my toys for for like an hour in the office. It was great. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
like
the dream.
Oh yeah, like that's one of the funny things. We get to we get to spend time like, oh my God, I'm gonna bring my toys to the office, or oh, let's go play with some water in the back. It's always something going on someone's mind, and they'll put it out there and be like, hey, who wants to be a part of this? And be like, yes, please.
Before I let you go, I would like to know two things from you. What are some of your plugins that you just absolutely can't live without, have to have? And the other is, are there any bucket list sound design projects that you just absolutely have to work on before you die?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so plugins. Mentioned before, GRM. I love Evolution and Frequency Shifter. It's great. And also the Sound Toys bundle. I love. Sometimes it's a little overused when it comes to Crystallizer, but it's so nice, and makes designing like some magical things a little more fun, a little easier. I love Crystallizer and Echo Boy from Sound Toys as well. Sound Toys has like a lot of really great things. But yeah, like I would not be able to live without GRM. God, I love GRM so much.
Nice. I will absolutely check on their plugins then.
Yes, please.
And then bucket list sound projects.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I want to work on an animated cartoon so bad.
Like a Cartoon Network style, or like an anime, or like Disney.
Yeah, either like an animated kids show, or like a young adult animated stuff, or even an adult animation. But I guess along the lines of, it's like I love Steven Universe so much. It's one of my favorite shows, because I'm also a big musical nerd, and so they just have such lovely sound design and a great collaboration with their music as well. It's just such gorgeous pieces that they make. Or like even like the fun and silliness of My Little Pony. Friendship is Magic. I love it so much. It's just so cute and so fun. Something like that. I would love to be a part of a cartoon.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I hope somebody listening hears that.
I know. Like I've sort of been in the game audio professional world for about 3 years. I think I've been in Seattle for about 4 years now. So like I do love game audio. It's been really fun, and I hope to continue to be able to contribute to the game audio world. But eventually I would like to go back to film. That's my roots. I love film so much, and yeah, just get back into the post-production world and help people bring out their visions again.
That's awesome. Well, I am really thankful that you came on, and it was a blast talking to you. And I appreciate all the joy that you bring to your craft. Keep having fun, and we'll talk again another time.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the first episode of Audio XP. My goal here is to highlight the amazing minds behind your favorite Sonic experiences. So if you know of anyone in game audio who would like to be interviewed, whether they're a seasoned vet or a new graduate, I want to hear from you. So feel free to send your suggestions. You can get in touch with me at my website. The link is down below in the description. And also, if you're a composer or you know a great composer that I should feature on the show, feel free to reach out. And lastly, I gotta throw this in, I am also open to work. I'm looking for a sound design position, but I'm also an experienced composer, so feel free to reach out if you have a need. All my stuff is on my website. I'd be happy to get in touch. All right, that's enough of that. I'm Cole Harmon, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a great week. You deserve it.